Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of the Vegas Guys Locker Room. Thanks for joining me once again on another episode. Please click the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up if you really enjoy the show. Follow me on X at Vegas Guys Locker Room. And follow us on our podcast, wherever you may get your podcast, Vegas Guys Locker Room. We're available there. We do more in-depth shows on there. Audio only, unfortunately, at the time. We're going to get this video thing up and running soon, and hopefully we can add that to our podcast collection. So thanks again for joining me. We're going to talk a little Vegas Golden Knights. Had an interesting week, so to speak. We were hoping to right the ship. We have been on a little bit of a losing skid, as we talked about in last week's episode. We did have the Columbus Blue Jackets on the agenda. We were hoping that was going to be a get-right game for them. It turned out to be a little bit of a backwards take. It was a tough loss for the VGK, coming out losing 6-3 against the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are, yes, on the bottom of their division, and unfortunately the turnovers, the giveaways were just too much for us to overcome. We didn't get any timely goaltending in that one. It looked a little bleak. You know, we don't play well from playing from behind, but we did have some hope when we got back into that game, tying it 2-2. Gave us a little encouragement, but ultimately falling behind and losing the game 6-3 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I just don't think we battled enough in front of net. We didn't really get a whole lot going. And unfortunately, the giveaways and not getting enough takeaways on the forecheck really hurt us in the end. Second matchup we were really looking forward to. It was the Vancouver Canucks coming to town, the #1 team in the Pacific, and the team that we had beaten earlier in the year, pretty handily as well. At this point, we did make some additions. We'll go through that a little bit later. And we were hoping to make a good show of it. I know with the injuries, we weren't hoping for a whole lot. And ultimately, I thought we did an okay job. We just aren't getting around to our game. Falling behind early again, playing from behind, not our strong suit. And of course, the giveaways again, costing us a lot. Got to get rid of those giveaways. We're just giving up too much in our own zone, leading to easy goals for the other team. There's a couple goals I think that, well, there was one goal I think that Aiden Hill would want back. It was a pretty easy one right from the slot, right in front of him. Really no coverage, no blind spots. He should have had that one. But again, not getting on the forecheck, not generating those takeaways, really been tough for the VGK, and it bit them again in the last game against Vancouver. We did play last night with Detroit, and I thought that was going to be the toughest matchup we were going to have this week. Turns out that was the best game we played all week. We get the W, 5-3. Really finally flipped that script and had more takeaways than the other team. Gave away some. We did have a lot of giveaways in that game, more than we did in the Vancouver game. But we did have the takeaways to make up for it, getting ahead. I think that's why we jumped out to that early lead. The giveaways let them get back into the game. But Marchessault, led by Marshy and his hat trick, we pull out the victory 5-3. Some good play. I thought there was some great, Hannafin made a great play to get the first goal, that Marshy's first goal. Awesome showing by the guys. We led the takeaways, of course, 13-5, and that's why I think we won that game. If we can continue to do that, keep that going, I think more victories are ahead for us. Fortunately, finishing the week 1-2, not really making up any ground, falling further behind, still behind LA in the standings and Edmonton. Hopefully, we can generate some momentum, get back into this, and you can see what kind of a team we are when we play from behind. Really just not as strong as you really want us to be. It gets us off our game. We got to get the defensemen in there pinching. It leads to more breakaways and opportunities on the other side. So hopefully this week we can get back to that. Now this week we got 2 games on the road. We're not playing the Fortress. First game is in Seattle, another division foe. Hopefully something we can beat because they are behind us in the standings. 8 points behind us, of course, but we don't want it. It's a 4-point swing here. Don't want to give them that. We wanted to go the other way and really get a handhold on this lead, stay in that wild card position, and hopefully make up some ground on LA and Edmonton. Seattle has been playing good hockey. They are minus now Wenberg, who they did move him at the trade deadline to the Rangers, but they are 6-3-1 in their last 10 and looking to make moves themselves. So hopefully we can go up there. We do have a tough time with Seattle. Seattle's a very good team. They did beat us in the Winter Classic pretty handily. Hopefully we can go back up to Seattle and get a little bit of revenge and get right. And maybe put a little winning streak together, get 2 in a row and keep some momentum going. And hopefully that gets in there. They got to keep battling up front. As you saw in the Detroit game, they battled hard in front of them. Got a lot of, got some gritty goals, really got on the forecheck, really made some moves happen. Hopefully it continues. Calgary will be our opponent on Thursday. Seattle will be on Tuesday. Calgary will be our opponent on Thursday. And again, they are also 8 points behind, 5th in the division, looking to make moves. They did recently lose 1, but they're playing really well, winning 5 in a row before dropping the last game. Hopefully they can slip again and let us generate some more momentum, and we can come out of this week with 2 victories. Got a lead in the takeaways. They did make trades. Of course, Noah Hannafin returning to Calgary after being traded to the Vegas Golden Knights. Chris Tanev, of course, has moved on as well. They traded him to the Dallas Stars. Markstrom, who reportedly was on the trade block, did not get moved, but we know how difficult it is to trade for goaltenders mid-season. It's probably the most difficult position to get right when moving into a different team, with communication, verbiage, getting your defenseman on the same page, finding out how you like to play goaltender. It's a difficult process for goalies, so you don't see a lot of those big names. Even though we were looking at some of those moving this week, and it didn't happen. Look for the offseason to see some of those big names we were talking about in trades to happen for the goaltenders. I think that's where you're going to see your moves like Markstrom and all these guys. They're going to go in the offseason, give them the offseason to get aware with their new surroundings. But again, I think if we get in there and really play our hockey that we played last night against Detroit, we should hands down handle Calgary. No problem. We just have to keep going. We got to get out early, can't start off slow, play with the lead. That's where we're strongest, and hopefully we can come out of there with a W. Just the 2 games this week. Hopefully we can cap it off with a 2-0 week and hopefully move up those standings and keep up with Edmonton and LA. Edmonton did win today. I did notice that they played the Penguins. Everybody seems to be beating the Penguins these days. I believe Penguins are really struggling as of late. I know they did a dump off. Jake Getzel goes to Carolina. Where are the state of the Penguins? We'll talk about that in the podcast coming up. So please join us for that. To break down the trades that the Vegas Golden Knights made, they did make a few. Made some pretty big ones. Anthony Mantha from the Washington Capitals, a big, strong forward who can really skate. If you look at this guy's metrics and his skating ability, guy is amazing. And all of his goals come from in front of the net. He likes to get to the front of the net. He's not afraid to get those gritty goals. He's a big-bodied man who can move. So I really look for him once he gets comfortable playing with his line mates to really start generating something. And of course, Noah Hannafin, we talked about coming over from Calgary, already making his impression in last night's game, creating a turnover and leading to Marshy's first goal with the assist of Jack Eichel. But the big move that surprised everyone, including most NHL analysts, that everybody was surprised of, was the acquisition of Tomas Hertl coming over from San Jose. And the reason everybody was surprised at this is because of the money that's still left on Hertl's contract and the fact that there's a long-term contract. That there's still 6 years remaining on his contract. Now, of course, the Knights have always been battling the salary cap. So you wonder how they could afford this? Well, they discussed it and were able to get San Jose to retain 17% of the remaining contract, which makes it a very affordable contract for the Golden Knights. And they also pick up 2 third-round draft picks from San Jose. San Jose gets David Edstrom, our first-round pick last year, and the 2025 first-round pick from the Vegas Golden Knights. I gotta say, I think we made a steal there. I think George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon did a wonderful job in a masterpiece trade. I'm curious to see how this means for Mark Stone going forward. They know that, reports were that Mark Stone should return for the playoffs, but a lacerated spleen is a pretty serious injury. I'm curious with why they made this big of a move, because Tomas Hertl is coming back off injury, but should be back hopefully maybe a week or 2 before the end of the regular season and able to get acquainted with his line mates. Mark Stone, on the other hand, I wonder if this is why they made a big splash. Maybe he may not be ready for the playoff push. And going forward, Mark Stone has had several major injuries. His back is always a question mark. I'm curious to see if maybe Mark Stone's health may be in question. You know, our captain, our one and only captain we've ever had in our history so far, is beloved here in Vegas with his energy, but he does play the game hard. He leaves it all in line, which is why everyone loves him. I just wonder if maybe that's catching up to him. Maybe his body is starting to give a little on him. He's not getting any younger. I know he's in his early 30s. In hockey years, that has put a lot of hockey. So hopefully Mark Stone's fine. If he comes back for the playoff push, we really have no worries, and this team should be set going forward. I'm so curious on how next year we make these kind of pickups. We have some UFAs that we need to discuss. You know, Jonathan Marchessault's up for a new contract. Chandler Stevenson is up for a contract. Will Carrier is up for a contract. Of course, you traded for Noah Hannafin. He's on the last year of his contract. You probably want to tie him up long term. It's going to be an interesting offseason. But first, we need to get through the playoffs, win ourselves our second in a row, and then we can discuss those issues in the offseason. But, guys, if you want more in-depth, please join me on our podcast. Wherever you get your podcast at Vegas Guys Locker Room, we go in-depth a little bit more during the week. Talk with guys like Big Time Sean, Rick, my father, Nick. George joins us occasionally from time to time. Talk with all the guys and talk sports and hopefully have a little bit of fun. Guys, thanks for joining me in this week's episode, and we'll see you in the next one.